Hi, Jake. I hope you're doing well today. You can refer to me as Miss Smith as I'll be conducting your interview today. Did you have any trouble getting on the Zoom call?
No, not at all. No.
Okay, that's good to hear. By the way, I love that Auburn pin that you have on. Multiple of my family members graduated from there, so War
Yeah.
Eagle.
Yeah. War Eagle to them. Yeah.
Yeah. So today I will ask you a series of questions to see if you meet the qualifications to own a Canes franchise. This process should take under 30 minutes and you will answer a set of questions pertaining to your mindset. Then we'll move on to your skills in the workplace. So before we begin, do you have any questions or concerns?
No, I don't have any questions.
All right, great. Let's get started.
Okay.
So, our first question is, what are you most looking forward to in the years ahead?
Yeah. I think for me personally, Miss Smith, the years ahead with the Canes franchise are pretty amazing because right now, Canes only has about 800 restaurants nationwide. If you compare that to like a McDonald's, which has about 35,000 restaurants worldwide, there's a big runway for Canes. And I think there's tremendous growth opportunity. And that's one of the things that excites me the most is to build a team and build a restaurant that can grow and hopefully open up multiple restaurants after that over time. So that's probably what I'm most looking forward to.
Right, right. All right, so our second question is going to be, can you share a few lessons that shaped your growth as a person?
Yeah, that's a good question. I think that over the many, many years that I've been working, one of the things I've learned is that, in the past, I was always worried about the next promotion or making money. But when I really have looked back on my career, one of the most special things to me has been the relationships that I built with team members and coworkers and even bosses and leaders. There's something special about that. And to have that kind of camaraderie over time and to build, success together. I think that's been the most important thing in my career so far. And what I look forward to is taking that with me on my journey with Canes as we try to build, our franchise and build more businesses over time and building those relationships with staff and with customers.
Absolutely. All right. What motivated you to pursue this profession?
Yeah, I'm always looking for opportunities that I can grow as a person, both professionally and personally. And I think when I look back at my past in the corporate world, but now I'm going to be maybe taking on a franchise opportunity where I can build something from scratch, hire my own team, develop my leaders into great people, and of course, lead that to success. I think that really motivates me more than anything else. So I think it's just the personal dedication of trying to build something that I believe in and my family believes in together is really special for us.
That's amazing. All right. So, can you describe the progress you've made toward your personal goals over the past 5 years?
Yeah. So, I think my life is segmented in both business goals and personal goals. And, my personal goals have probably changed a lot over the years as I've gotten older. Some of the most important things to me are my family and my faith in the Lord. And I've tried to, you know, separate myself from business kind of full time and to segment it out to where I spend much more time with my family. I'm intentional about setting up vacations. I'm intentional about taking time away from work to, maybe read the Bible or to go on spiritual trips with church colleagues and church friends. So I think it's just something, that I have had to, set the goals from a personal standpoint, but also make sure that I'm holding myself accountable to achieve them.
All right. All right. We're almost halfway through our questions. We are going to be moving on to questions based on your skills in the workplace.
Okay.
So, tell me about a time when you had to solve a problem in your career.
Oh, well, as you know, Ava, from talking to me briefly before, I've had about a 30 plus year career in both the corporate world and now, now into the franchise world. And I've really been, as a leader, having to solve problems my whole life. So I think anytime, and especially for someone like you as a young person, when you start taking on leadership opportunities, um, you're going to be faced with always having to make decisions. And, for me, I think it's a case of looking at the problem and working it yourself, but also working it with other colleagues to get their ideas and just trying to formulate a solution to that problem. Just recently we had a situation at my old business where, a freight company wasn't giving us the products that we need on time. And we had to immediately dispatch calls out to other freight companies to see if they could help us in a pinch and ask for some favors. And you've got to just remain cool headed in that situation because you have customers and deadlines that you have to meet. But we're able to come through at the last minute working with those other companies. So I think at the end of the day, it's just accepting the fact that in leadership, you're always going to be solving problems. And that's just something that we have to accept every day in our job.
It very much is. All right. What strategies do you implement to stay focused and meet your deadlines?
Well, I would say for that, you have to really be organized yourself. And so for me, and I probably learned this over many years, I have to have, and for me, it's a digital calendar, but I have to make sure that I'm constantly writing down all the appointments and all the deadlines that I have to meet. And, as long as I have something I can turn to and check off each day, that's kind of how I stay organized to meet my deadlines. One of the things I learned a long time ago is that when you do have appointments with people, you want to make sure you're always on time because their time is important, just like yours. And in business, you want to make sure you're putting your best foot forward. So, for whatever your, needs are to stay organized, I think you have to come up with some kind of process that you have to follow to be able to get things done. And for me, it's probably that digital calendar that I have to follow each day. And of course, I've got staff that help me stay, on time as well. And that's the good news about having a secretary. She always makes sure that I've got everything set up for that week, for that day, and even for that month.
Perfect. Perfect. All right. What's your process for addressing errors while maintaining team morale and responsibility?
Well, that's a good one. I think the first thing is a great leader. You have to realize that a lot of your staff are going to make mistakes. They're going to make errors in their career. But, we, as leaders, to keep them motivated and keep their morale up, we have to let them know that, we need to learn from our mistakes. We need to make sure that we're calling them out, but professionally talking through the things that they may have failed on or maybe the deadlines that they didn't meet and encourage them so that next time when they're in the same situation, they don't make the same kind of mistake. So I think a lot of it is just good mutual communication and professional communication with your staff, just to let them know kind of where they fell short, but also help them realize how they can, again, achieve their tasks and their goals on time. And how can I be a resource to help them so that it doesn't happen again?
Yes, right. All right. How do you handle stress in demanding or fast-paced work environments?
Yeah. Well, I guess for me personally, I've been in stressful environments most of my career, but as I've gotten older, I've kind of learned that, it's healthy to step away from work sometimes and do things that are healthy for you. It could be working out. It could be going to a gym. It could be, even taking a vacation more often than I did in the past just to clear my head. And I think that, it's very spiritually freeing to get away from work sometimes and clear your mind. And that way stress doesn't build up. I think we all know that in life, if you work too hard or take on too much stress, that can be unhealthy for you and for your family. And so I think it's just once again being intentional to walk away from work and setting aside time for yourself, for the things that are important to you and for your hobbies, and make sure you don't lose focus on those things that are truly important in life.
Absolutely, absolutely. All right. How do you manage interactions with challenging or dissatisfied customers?
Yeah, I guess that the one thing I would say that's key to dealing with unsatisfied customers is one word, and that's listen. I think the old saying, God gave us one mouth and two ears, probably because he wanted us to listen more than we talk. And in my career, I have found that whenever somebody has a problem, or they're disgruntled, if you listen to them and let them know that you care and that you're going to try to fix their problem, 9 times out of 10, that's going to make them pretty happy. Just the fact that you've heard them, that you're listening to them, and especially if you do solve the problem, you probably won over a customer. But I think it's times when we're not listening to people or we get combative with customers. That's when you lose your customers at the end of the day. So success is driven by listening, even to your own customers, which are your own staff. Whenever they're having a hard time, so probably just listening, letting people know that we've heard you and we're going to fix the problem, and that'll probably have a good ending, with your business.
Great, great answer so far. Can you describe a time when you helped a colleague or a team member stay focused on their responsibilities?
Absolutely. Again, the last half of my career, I've had a lot of directors and leaders have reported directly to me. And I think one of the things that we've tried to do is at least every quarter, we try to sit down and find out, how things are going. We do check-ins or temperature checks, if you will. We ask them what's working, what's not working, how's your personal life, how's your business life. And through those discussions, that always brings out any kind of challenges that they're dealing with or concerns that they're having in the workplace. And just through that dialogue, usually we're able to solve problems again and just help them come up with ways that they could be an effective leader themselves. So I think again, when you have a leadership team, if you never give them your time or show that you care, they're probably going to struggle for you and for your business. But if you take the time to listen to your staff and get to know them and help them solve their problems, you're probably going to have a very effective leadership team. Thus, it's going to impact your business in a positive way.
It very much will. Well, thank you for your upfront and honest feedback, Jake. That was our last question, which will wrap up our quiz portion of the interview. So, according to my notes, you have showcased a variety of skills that we take into heavy consideration as we decide as a board who gets to own a Canes franchise. Now, the sole purpose of this interview was to gauge your qualifications, so I want to reassure you that everything said in this interview will stay confidential with me and my board. With that being said, in the next week, you'll receive an email from our board updating you on your status. So, do you have any questions, any concerns before we part ways today?
No questions. I appreciate the time today, Miss Smith. Thank you.
All right, well, it was a pleasure interviewing you today. I hope you have a great rest of your day.
You too. Have a great day.
Thank you. Bye bye.
Okay.